Drawing is just like jazz. It's all about the notes that you don't play. For folks that find motivation to draw scarce, a video talking about drawing less might sound absurd. Or maybe for some reason your motivation has been kind of drained recently for— oh, hold on. The person walking by. And I can't imagine why that would be, but for people in a different mindset, myself included, there's a very good chance that instead you're, for a lack of a better word, over-motivated, that every spare second you can muster should be put towards your art, and the moments that aren't rack you with guilt. Even if that's not the case for you, you might just feel an inherent struggle, and throwing more time at your art isn't helping. This is an artistic mindset video that I ask you to bear with because for as many people are worried about not having the motivation to draw or finding the time to draw, I just know there are plenty of other folks in a different boat. And either way, the things that we're talking about here should increase the quality of the time that you spend working creatively regardless. So here's a couple of quick stories for background on this. Growing up, I never didn't have a sketchbook with me. Working for the family business on work trips when we'd get food at night, I would bring the sketchbook with me to the restaurant and leave it on my lap. Like, just in case something happened, an idea struck me, I'd be ready. Maybe some of that rings true with you. Especially in situations where art was not my main work, the tiny moments that I could get to work on it were incredibly valuable. Here's a different example from a lot more recently. Making artwork for a living can easily cause you to feel like you're never doing it enough, and a couple of tight deadlines or crunch periods can easily condition you to think that you can't afford not to be working. Any leisure time is just procrastination before you can get back to it. It can be so hard to convince someone that's wringing every minute out of their schedule for art and still struggling that there's a better way. I know, because that's been me. But here are 3 fairly convincing arguments against it. Never fails that it's actually raining the second I get out here. Number 1, split attention. Another quick aside that helped me make some realizations about this. I've started up our Twitch stream again this past few weeks, and on my first stream back, I was so excited to interact with you folks watching that, as is usual for me, my drawing quality suffered. That evening, I looked back on the Pikmin sketches that I'd done a little remorsefully, and the sketch that I did immediately following the stream was just of a much higher quality. When your attention is split, your ability to make decisions and perform drawing mechanics are going to be throttled. It may look like worse drawing, slower drawing, or dumber drawing from a design perspective. Even if you aren't streaming, this may look like drawing while watching TV or being in an environment where you're easily distracted. If it takes you 4 hours to draw while watching TV, there's no reason it shouldn't take 2 hours to do that same drawing while focused. Make the incision down the middle of those 2 activities and you'll end up with a much higher quality experience with both. Number 2 is split motivation. As work from home gets to be more and more common, especially for artists, it gets harder to separate looking at bad screen during the day from looking at good screen during the evening. One suggestion that has been really helpful when I can afford to put it into practice came from my friend Dylan Ekron, who puts hard limits on the time in the day when work stops, say 6 p.m., and no work emails or accounts are linked to devices that you take with you out of your office or workspace. Trying this out, 2 big things happened. Not only does the definitive personal time after that work cutoff feel earned and restorative and helps you be a normal person again, in the alternate version of the day where work never stops, the quality of the work succumbs to procrastination and low quality. Your mind starts looking for an out in some capacity. And hey, remember that being a real human person can fuel your artwork, if nothing else. Number 3 is a split hierarchy of needs. Something we've talked about in the Anytime You're Struggling video is that making artwork is sort of an advanced function. It requires mental focus to be able to make decisions and perform precise motor functions, and it requires emotional output as well. In that video, we kind of riffed on Maslow's hierarchy of needs when it comes to making things. If you're in fear for your life or starving, you're not going to make very good work, or possibly anything at all. And as those things stack up, the smallest thing on your mind, all the way up to big problems, either you or someone you love is experiencing, can seriously inhibit you. Sometimes just realizing, oh, I need to eat something is all it takes to get out of a funk. And after you realize that, all of those reasons and things that seemed like problems might slip away. Other times, and here's actually another story from the day after that stream I talked about, I do want to carefully word this to a public audience to retain some amount of privacy. First of all, everyone is fine, but we did end up needing to visit the emergency room last week for a non-COVID reason. It did end up taking 10 hours, and I was not able to go in because of, so I just waited in the car. So with that sustained level of anxious waiting for so long, you do need to try and pass the time somehow. And my circumstance in this moment is so inconsequential to the health of my spouse, but that is actually sort of the point of this story. One thing that I basically immediately realized was that despite being equipped with everything that I needed to draw, the same iPad in the car setup that I used just this summer to fulfill the Biko's backpack workload when our power was out for a week successfully, I knew that even if I tried to draw, it wasn't going to work or matter. And for once, the same person with a sketchbook in their lap, just in case, had a sort of cascading ripple effect of understanding of exactly how much the internal basic needs have to be met, not just the tools and the circumstances. Side note, I'm immensely grateful that Tay is okay, and that's really what's important here, but beyond our personal circumstances, that hopefully helps you understand something about your own ability to create things as a small side effect. I guess quality over quantity is a really reductive way to wrap up this video. An alternate title I had in mind was 3 Reasons Not to Draw, that might have came off a little too confusing. Just remember how hard art can be, how much energy it requires. Give it that respect. And discounting the quality of output by saying, I'll just throw a vast quantity at it, is cheapening. And remember that there is more to you as a person than just the work you make, so naturally, give yourself the opportunity to live outside of purely outputting work. It usually re-energizes, kickstarts, and generally improves all of that stuff. As a side note, if you feel like you've got all of your artistic mindset stuff ship-shape in working order and the only thing keeping you from moving forward is skill, make sure to check out the Learn Character Design course, the first module, which is all about drawing and drawing fundamentals. You can just get the first module of that on Gumroad if you don't feel like grabbing the entire course at once. I think that is something that can really help you move forward in order to put you in a place where you can make character designs and comics and do visual storytelling at a higher level of skill. You can get Biko's backpack and get feedback on your work over at patreon.com/BagelDenizen. My name is Brooks. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok at BagelDenizen, and you can keep coming back here for new videos on Character Design Forge. Thank you so much for watching, and have fun creating. A lot of people ask about and are concerned with their art style, the visual identifier for their artistic work. That video was at the top of my channel autoplaying for so long that stuff is burned completely into my brain and I'm permanently damaged. I'm walking into the woods now.